Okay, so we're going to do this eagle face. It's going to be just a close-up study, and so I start with the beak, and what I want to pay attention is to the length and the height of the beak versus the width, and so make sure that that length is much longer than the width, and the width gets really thin towards the mouth of the beak, but the top is really wide and rounded, and then you get that point at the bottom. And so I start out with that curve to get that motion that it's a sharp beak. If it was straight up and down, it would tend to look more flat, and so that curve's really important. And then it's just an organic shape off to the sides. It bumps a little bit. You can make it more pointed. I'm going to erase some of those guiding lines, and then you want to put those little nostril holes in. And if you'll notice, the nostril holes in the eyes, they aren't perfectly symmetrical, so they do line up at an angle, and that's because this is a focus of the face of the eagle that is slightly off to an angle. And so if you'll notice, the eye on the left is much closer to the beak than the eye on the right. And I start out with more of, instead of a circle, more of an oval shape. It's up and down on the right side, but on the left side it's more elongated where it is tilted on its side. The pupils and the irises also line up a little bit different because of the angle, so make sure the left one is more elongated where the right one is more of a circle. Now the sternness of the eyes, that really cool predator look that you have in falcons and birds of prey, they have that nice slanted angle, so it almost looks like a furrow. So you want to make sure you get those angles correct, and then you want to thicken up that line, and that helps that sternness. And then I also thicken up the line around the iris as well. Coloring in the pupil, make sure you leave that highlight. But as you're shading in the iris, you don't shade it in very much at all. You just give the slight blend, but you want that glowiness that really makes those eyes pop. And if you'll notice, shading under the eyes as well as above make those eyes pop. And then I'm just darkening up some of the areas of that beak and shading those in and giving those cast shadows so that beak pops. But when you shade the actual beak, it's slight. It's really just the right side of the beak. You give a nice light shadow on there. And then the eye on the left, same thing. We want that nice thick top brow line. It's not a brow, but you get what I mean. And then we're just going to shade that in and give a nice blend so that it looks a little bit fuzzy because there's feathers. Fuzzy feathers, I'm not sure what you call those, but we're not doing it in solid. We're not adding a ton of texture, just that shading. And notice how changing directions gives a little bit of that rough too. Now when we're outlining, it's not this really stark thick line, but it blends and fades out. And this is that light shadow on the nose. Changing directions just helps blending. And I'm just going to go back through and clean up some of my guidelines, add a little more shading, more line work, and then you're done.